This is the Bates Bobcast, our weekly podcast where we talk about the week that was in Bates athletics. My name is Aaron Morris, and believe it or not, spring sports are around the corner. So this week, we're introducing you to new Bates women's lacrosse head coach, Princess Zabel. Plus, women's basketball has won 4 straight NESCAC games with 2 key regular season contests remaining. And men's track and field, as well as men's swimming, went to Bowdoin last Saturday and came back champions. That's coming up on the Bates Bobcast. The women's basketball team hit the road last weekend and recorded a pair of big NESCAC wins down in Connecticut, improving to 14-8 overall and 4-4 in NESCAC play. After starting 0-4 in conference action, Bates has turned things around, thanks in large part to senior captain Alexandra Long, who had another big weekend, tallying 10 points on 3 of 6 shooting and a game-high 6 assists against Trinity. She followed that up with a game-high 15 points on 7-11 shooting, a game-high 4 assists, and 3 steals in a 64-50 win over Wesleyan. Long leads the NESCAC with 3.9 assists per game, and she also ranks first in the conference in assist-to-turnover ratio at 2.1. And she is our female Bobcat of the week. Well, Rose, the women's basketball team, 4 straight NESCAC wins now after 2 road victories this past weekend. As the senior captain, how proud are you of this team for the turnaround from the 0-4 start to where you are now?
Obviously super proud. Our returning group has just evolved so much over the season. And of course, we have our entire class of first years, a handful who have had a lot of playing opportunities in these past games who have just showed up so excellently for us. Obviously, I'm over the moon about it. They've done an excellent job. In your opinion, what's been the key to the team going on this big winning streak? I think we're just kind of finding a lot of stuff that I think represents Bates women's basketball that I've experienced my entire career here, which is just kind of the soul and the joy that we play with. I know you've heard me say it a bunch, but obviously we have a lot of technical standards for ourselves, statistical standards, but I think that we've just done a good job of playing together these past couple weekends. One stat that stood out to me, at least from Friday's game against Trinity, was they had the number 1 scoring offense in the NESCAC by a fair amount, actually, entering that game, and you held them to their lowest shooting percentage since the 2017-18 season. So what was the key to that defensive performance? In these last couple weeks of practice, we've just been harping on our defensive intensity and our ability to kind of establish ourselves as a leader in that category moving towards the end of the season and into the playoffs. And so obviously that was a really great showing and a great test for us to start off with that leading scoring team. So that was really cool. And then you on Sunday, you put up, I think, a game-high 15 points. Your shooting percentage way up this year. Your three-point percentage is way up this year. What's been crucial there? Obviously you've been getting the hoop and making a lot of layups, but you're also knocking down those threes. I'm just going to call it a little bit of senior magic there, maybe. I think over these 4 years, I've just kind of grown into myself. And the player I can be the best I possibly can. I just try to show up to be who my team needs me to be every single day. And I think offensively this season especially, I've done a pretty good job of that. And so just hoping to keep that going. Yeah, certainly. And then you are the lone senior. This Sunday is senior night, or senior day, I should say. So what are your thoughts on, senior day coming up? And can you believe it, 2 more regular season games, although we're hoping for some postseason at Alumni Gym also, right? Yeah, I know. It would be awesome to be able to play there again for sure. But I'm super excited. I'm a little emotional about it, I'm sure. But this team and this program, it's been an honor to play with and for the people who have been a part of it. If anyone's still on campus during break, you should come and watch the game on Sunday. But yeah, I'm super excited. It's been a great ride. You got a big family. Are they all going to be there? Yeah, there's going to be the majority. You'll see my sister as usual and my parents in their corner, but we'll have a couple additions. Excellent. And then, what's it been like to, have their support through these 4 years, going from a unrecruited walk-on to a senior captain? They're just excellent. They've seen some stuff in me that I don't think I was able to see as early as they did, and I know that's some parent and family stuff talking there, but I'm just super appreciative of their continued support. They've been sitting in that corner since my very first game, and they're still here now, and so obviously that's super huge. Yeah, I just appreciate them a lot. And then we touched on hoping to have a home playoff game, hopefully. Mm-hmm. It depends on how it all shakes out. But, it's pretty cool to, be in the mix at this point after
on the outside, you see an 0-4 starting, like, well, what's going to happen? But now to be in the mix, that's pretty awesome, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we had no doubts continuing on from that 0-4 start. Obviously, like, we go into each weekend expecting to come out with 2 victories, and it's been really great that we've been able to show that we're capable of that. We're expecting the same thing after this one, so hopefully we'll be able to pull through and have that.
Season far from over, but I want to ask a little bit about post-college plans, thoughts on that. What have you been thinking about as a senior?
I'm looking to move back down towards the New Jersey area. I want to do some work maybe in some higher education spaces, whether that's with research stuff or sports. We'll find out, but that's still in progress.
What kind of stuff are you interested in researching?
Some policy, government, intersections of that kind of stuff with higher ed. So,
how has Bates maybe prepared you for that?
I mean, I think excellently. Like, obviously, liberal arts in general, like, able to kind of get that wide scope of stuff, and then my background with mathematics is going to be like super helpful in that, kind of hopefully set me apart a little bit. But I think the people aspect, the community that I've been able to work with, that's the biggest driver for sure.
I know the women's basketball program in general has, a pretty, very supportive alumni base. You played with the team that, of course, won the NESCAC title when you were a first year. Have you been hearing from them very much?
Yeah, I'm really excited to see most, if not all of them this weekend. So really excited about that. And I know a big portion of our, at least the alums I've played with, are down in that New York kind of area. So hopefully I'll be able to see them again.
Excellent. Well, any other thoughts you wanted to share on the past weekend? I mean, these 2 road wins, because obviously we know the team's great at home, but the statement to win on the road, especially the Trinity game, because that was really pivotal, I thought.
Back to the first thing we had talked about, I'm just really, really proud of how this group has stayed in and trusted in what we're doing. I'm happy to have them following along and leading with me, and so. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing. I think that's the thing that we needed to kind of overcome, and we've been able to do that.
Well, the Bobcats are playing for some playoff positioning this Friday and Sunday at Alumni Gym, Connecticut College on Friday, and then a pivotal game against Tufts on Sunday. Senior captain and our female Bobcat of the week, Alexandra Long. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Aaron.
Track and field headed to Brunswick on Saturday and competed in the main state meet, with the women's team finishing second out of 8 schools, and the men's team capturing the indoor state championship for the 5th time in the last 6 seasons. Combined, 9 Bobcats won state titles between the women's and men's teams, with first-year Nate Roberts breaking the indoor state meet record in the men's 800 meters with his winning time of 1 minute 54.27 seconds, good for 8th on the Bates all-time performance list. And he is our male Bobcat of the week. Well, Nate, before we talk about your excellent 800 there at the main state meet, tell me a little bit about your background. Growing up in New Jersey, when did you start getting into running?
I started running my freshman year of high school. I had done a turkey trot or 2 before that, but nothing serious. And freshman year, I started running cross country. Not particularly fast, but I loved my team, and it was just super fun. It was a great environment and a great team, great group of people. And I think that's pretty common in cross country to have just amazing groups of really close people. And that's also the reason I wanted to kind of continue to run cross country and track in college. And, over the course of my high school career, I progressed to the point where that actually became an option for me. And I'm really happy that I'm here. Bates is another amazing team. And I love it so far.
Did you play any other sports growing up, or was running kind of your thing?
I played some soccer in middle school. Did not make the high school team.
Okay.
I did competitive rock climbing for a little while.
Okay.
Middle school through sophomore year. But I did have to give that up for running, and I'm a lot better at running than I was at rock climbing, so it's okay.
We have a rock wall in Merrill. Do you ever use it?
I've been once or twice.
Yeah.
I prefer to go outside. It feels cooler.
Yeah.
I like to be in nature. I love hiking, camping, and rock climbing outside is such a cool combination of nature and climbing.
What appealed to you about Bates?
Yeah, the location's definitely a huge plus. Even right now, skiing has been awesome so far. Yeah, I think that the biggest thing for me was the immediate sense of the community and feeling so welcomed, not just by the team on my visit, but Bates College as a whole, all the staff, students I didn't even know or weren't part of the team who happened to meet me, were just very kind and supportive, and I really wanted that in my team and in my college, and it's been even better than I could have imagined actually being here.
Excellent. Well, on your survey on the website, you mentioned that Mount Washington, which is in New Hampshire, but in the area, left a lasting impression on you. Tell us about your trip to Mount Washington.
I've been a couple times.
Yeah.
My family used to have like a little cabin up in New Hampshire near there. So I've been in the summer, and I've hiked it pretty successfully in like June and July and August, and it's really fun. It's so cool to just be up there and be able to see all the way pretty much out to Maine and Canada. It's very cool. I hope to get out there, from Lewiston sometime if I can. And I've also been once or twice in the winter. And it's drastically different. Those are also some formative experiences, but more so in terms of like dealing with the stress and maybe even like pressure, you could say. The weather there is insane. It's crazy. But I've been there several times, and I've had some very different experiences. But it's such a cool place. By far the tallest mountain in the Northeast. It's cool. It's great to have that there.
It gets a little windy, I hear, right?
Yeah, just a bit.
Just a bit.
I think when I was there in the winter one time, it was like 70-mile-an-hour gusts, and I was almost blown probably all the way back to New Jersey.
800 meters there at the main state meet at Bowdoin. Take us through the race and how it went from your perspective. You set a meet record, which had stood since like the 70s, so take us through it.
Yeah, that was pretty solid. Going into the race, I knew that the top heat would be just me, Cal Porter, and one of the Bowdoin kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to lose to a Bowdoin kid, so Cal and I definitely had a bit of a plan of like try to sit on him and work together, and that's pretty much exactly what happened. We got out fine. Thanks to Cal Porter, he gave me the rail. I got to just kind of sit in second place for quite a while. And we definitely got out fast. No complaints about that. It was a good start. And it was getting pretty tough right around halfway. I was honestly like starting to lose a little bit of faith for a second there. But the Bowdoin kid in front slowed down quite a bit, so clearly he was feeling it too. And coming into the fourth and final lap, I saw an opportunity to go on the back straightaway, and I took it, and I didn't look back. And I held on to the lead. It was cool. It was a soft meet record, so we both went under the former meet record. I was looking at the facility record too, but sadly we missed that by like a couple tenths of a second or something like that.
Gotcha. And then you've been running a variety of events already, as a first year here, the 800, the 1500, the mile, the 3K, the 1,000. I mean, take us through some of these events. What's maybe your favorite distance? What do you like the most?
That's a tough question. I think right now it's got to be the mile. But I'm learning to love the 3K a lot more than I liked the 2 mile in high school. So that's already a good improvement. And running something like the 1K can be kind of fun, just to do such an unusual distance. I know that the 3K is also only around indoor, but because I had the 3,200 and 2 mile in high school, it feels a lot more familiar. But the 1K was a really fun way to open 2025 track. And that was a great crew of Bates kids out there. We had a couple heat wins at that meet in the 1K. That was awesome. And I feel like running well in that definitely gave me, and hopefully the team as well, some positive momentum going into the other races. And then after that, I had a 3K at Bates Invite, which was super fun. I feel like running the longer distances is actually helping me, get better at like the 800 and the mile. And it definitely manifested at BU in the following race in the mile. That was pretty crazy. I wasn't expecting that at all.
Take us back. You mentioned longer distances helping with the shorter distances. Obviously cross country, 8K at the college level, that is longer than you ran in high school, I imagine, right? For events.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Just a little bit. So take us through the transition from, high school to college. You had, this fall, really, you got to compete at NESCACs and everything, but I imagine there was a bit of adjustment, right?
It was definitely an adjustment. And honestly, it wasn't as bad as I was expecting it to be. But still, running an extra 3K on a cross-country course is doing some serious damage to my legs and lungs, in the actual race. So it was tough. I think the biggest thing that helped is just doing more volume in my workouts and in my training, but especially coming in here and doing building up through Coach Feldman's training all summer into the fall. Like, we did some really serious workouts, and like not only was there a lot of fitness gained from that, but a lot of confidence too going into an 8K distance.
We had another first year on here, Max Hoffman, a few weeks ago. He's 5th all time in the 3K right now at Bates. You're on a couple top 10 lists now as well, 800, the mile, and everything. I mean, Max had a very specific goal. He wanted to get faster than Ned's PR in the 3K. He's about a little under 2 seconds off of that right now. But do you have any specific goals kind of for the indoor season like that, or you just kind of take it each week at a time?
Yeah, I'm trying not to get too ahead of myself. Honestly, my biggest goal is to contribute as best I can to the team, and I think that the best way I'm going to be able to do that is hopefully on the distance medley relay. I think on this Saturday and hopefully later in the season at the Tufts Last Chance meet and at Nationals. It'd be really cool to go to Nationals and, more importantly, to hand the baton to my boys, hopefully in a good spot.
Yeah, I mean, last year we saw the DMR team get All-America honors in indoors, and that was really exciting. And 3 of those 4 who ran it are back, and obviously someone's going to have to fill in Ned's shoes in that one, so that should be interesting. Main state meet, let's go back to that a little bit. Winning it, bringing the title back to Lewiston. You're a first year, but what were some of the seniors, leaders of this team kind of telling everyone about the importance of this particular meet this past weekend?
We definitely wanted to show out at this meet, especially the seniors. I know the seniors had won it their first 2 years here. And then sadly lost to Bowdoin last year, and they did not want to go out losing to Bowdoin. And I'm really glad that we can kind of leave them with that legacy at the main state meet of 3 wins and ending on a win over Bowdoin. I mean, we were going in with the mentality that it's not a huge meet in terms of people, the volume of people who compete. So we could have almost every one of the teams score points, and that's what we tried to do. I mean, we went 1, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the 800. I think it was like 28 points from the 800 alone. So I'm really proud of our 800 crew. That was awesome, and it definitely wasn't just the 800 crew. I mean, everyone showed out and had some amazing performances, stepped up when they needed to, and were really consistent in other areas, and it was great. I'm really happy that we were able to get that win.
Yeah, and the 4x800 blackout relay concludes the meet. What was it like watching your teammates in action in that one? Because I know they turned the lights off. I know the sun shines through anyway, but what was the experience like watching that relay? That gets pretty hyped up, right?
Yeah, that was awesome. Yeah. I'd never seen one of the 4x8 blackout relays before, but I'd heard some cool stories, and it definitely lived up to the expectations. Right before that was catching my breath from the 4x4, but once they turned the lights out and I saw the 4x8 go off, I had to get up and come cheer. It was crazy. We had people lining the track on the inside, and in lanes 3 and 4 even. So it was close. The other teams started doing the same thing on other areas of the track, so it was getting really loud. It was amazing. And the best part was definitely seeing the guys in the 4x8 just smiling as they tear through in the lead pretty much the entire time.
So you were in the 4x4 also?
Yeah.
Okay, I guess the website where they have the results don't have that listed for whatever reason.
The 4x4 order was changed many times in the hour or 2 leading up to the 4x4. And the people running it as well.
Yeah, so you were, I guess, originally weren't in it, and then you were. When did you find out you were going to be running in it?
I cooled down from the 800, and I got back to the track. I cooled down with one of my teammates, Jackson Mons, and Mons and I come back from our cool down, and coach is like, "Hey, you guys want to run a 4x8 or a 4x4?" And I didn't even know which one I was starting to warm up for at first. Coach just like, yeah, I'll let you know which one you're gonna run, and they needed me in the 4x4, so I ran the 4x4, and it was pretty fun. I got the 3rd leg, and I believe I passed one person, and then I gave it to Mons, and he passed one person, which was just enough to get us into 3rd and score 6 points, which was what we needed from the event. It was good, and then we had about a 5 or 6 point lead going into the 4x8. So I'm glad I was able to be a part of that and buy us a little bit of comfort over Bowdoin going into the final event.
Yeah, 4x4 must be like a sprint for you because you're distance, right?
Yeah, it's pretty quick.
Yeah.
I like to think I have some speed, especially in the last 200 of a race, but the 4x4 was brutal on the double on Saturday.
Right.
I did not feel as speedy as a distance guy in the 400 as I do, being a distance guy in like the 800 of the mile or something.
Right. Well, what are your thoughts you wanted to share on the Maine State meet we haven't talked about, or anything else about your first year so far at Bates you wanted to mention we haven't discussed yet?
As for the Maine State meet, I'm just, as I've said a couple times before, really proud of how the team stepped up. On the men's side, obviously, especially with a lot of people doubling, coming back in multiple events. Like I know, Nathaniel Aronson ran the mile and the 1K. That's a pretty extensive and brutal double. And like Andrew Motter, coming back from sickness and some injury and winning the 5,000, that was really cool to watch, especially to like set the tone for the meet. Him and Nick working together the whole time was awesome. And yeah, I feel like everyone stepped up. And on the women's side too, unfortunately, they did not get the win. But
Close.
Yeah, they definitely fought for it. And it was really cool to see that, even when they weren't sure that they were going to win or get second or, what was going to happen, they were fighting really hard for every point that they could get. And I hope in the future the women can also come away with a team title.
Excellent. Nate Roberts, our male Bobcat of the week, a personal record in the 800 meters, 1 minute 54.27 seconds, which also broke the Maine State meet record that had stood since the late 70s. Thank you so much for joining us on the Bobcast. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
The men's swimming and diving team was also in Brunswick on Saturday, competing in the CBB meet with rivals Colby and Bowdoin. And the number 22 nationally ranked Bobcats took home the title in dominating fashion, winning 12 events along the way. First year Anton Kondratyev turned in a particularly gritty performance for Bates, winning the 500-yard freestyle in 4 minutes, 45.47 seconds, and the 1,000-yard freestyle in 9 minutes, 53.52 seconds.
I first started competing competitively when I was around 8 years old. My parents, since I was 4, put me in swim lessons, and then when I was 8, I finally joined this club called SVY, Somerset Valley YMCA. Then from that, it built, we combined teams with SHY, and we were GSUY. After that, I switched to this club called Scarlet. Then that's where I spent the last year, and now I'm at Bates.
And how did you end up coming to Bates for school? What stood out about it to you, coming up from New Jersey here?
For the recruiting process, I was especially looking at D3. I wanted a strong academic program while also having a good swim program. And I was strictly looking at the NESCACs. And after my official at Bates, I told my parents that I want to go here. And since then, I haven't looked back.
Excellent. Now let's talk a little bit about the meet there against Bowdoin and Colby on Saturday. I mean, going into it, I know everyone was very motivated to win it, and you guys certainly did. What was kind of the atmosphere around that meet? What were some of the seniors telling you about the importance of it?
It was so excited. We went into the meet as the favorites to win it.
Yeah.
Which the whole week, this is the only thing we were thinking about. We were thinking about CBB and winning. We had a goal in mind just to bring home that CBB victory, and we ended up winning. Everyone was cheering for each other. Everyone was supporting each other. We were pushing each other in practice, and it was amazing.
And Peter said that you were really grinding out there, 500 and the 1,000. Take us through your day kind of from a personal perspective. Which race did you do first? How'd that kind of go?
So I'm not too sure, but the 500 was later on in the meet, so I had a long time to warm up for it. The 500 was the first event that I swam. It was probably the hardest 500 I've ever swam in my life. It's always a fun time racing Phil and Chase. Those are 2 kids at Bowdoin. Especially Phil. He gave me a really good race in the 5 and the 1,000. And we were racing from the first lap all the way to the last. And I was able to get my hand on the wall first, which is great. That was the best race I've probably ever had in my life.
And so you know these guys already?
Yeah. At Maine State, I met Phil, but from club swimming, I met Chase at Bowdoin, and we've been best friends since. We've always been competing against each other, and it's awesome.
And you mentioned Maine States. How did this differ from it, perhaps? I mean, Maine States is a 2-day thing. This was 1 day. What were some similarities, differences? Because, you're facing Bowdoin and Colby, but this is a little different, right?
I'd say the meets were similar. Of course, there were less teams to compete against. However, since we were later on in the season, the times that were going to get put up at this meet were going to be faster. So, in a way, I'd say this meet was a lot more competitive, as Colby, Bowdoin, and Bates are rivals, and each team wants to win as much as possible. So I think that's the main way they differ, just the competitiveness.
Sure. And then you mentioned the 500 was a battle. You got the victory. How long did you have between that and the 1,000?
We had like 20 to 30 minutes after
Yeah.
the 500. It was brutal. Honestly, I couldn't really move after the 500 for a bit. I was a bit nervous for the 1,000, but still managed to get through it. Most brutal double you could possibly do, I'd say.
How's the pool there at Bowdoin compared to Tarbell? I mean, like, is there any difference really, or?
I think the two pools are very similar.
Yeah.
The blocks are the same.
Mm-hmm.
The one key difference is that we have a bulkhead and they don't.
Okay.
And I like the bulkhead at Tarbell. I'd say it's a lot better pool, but I might be a little biased.
And then you mentioned NESCAC's coming up, not this weekend for the men, but the following weekend.
Yep.
What are some of the, your first year here, so what are some of the, your coaches and your senior leaders told you about the experience of NESCAC's and what to expect?
From the beginning of the season, I've been told that this is the most fun meet that I'll ever experience in my life. And not just the competitiveness, but also this is like everyone supporting each other no matter what. And I feel like that it's going to be really exciting. And I honestly can't wait. We're looking real good going into NESCACs this year. I think we could put up a really impressive performance, put up some really fast times.
Growing up, what made you a distance swimmer? I mean, 500, 1,000, some of the longer events, right?
When I started swimming, at 8 years old, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I jumped from breaststroke to backstroke to even butterfly. And when I turned 13, my coach put me in a mile, and I was able to put something decent, which ended up being my best event. Since then, I never turned back. I started taking the sport a lot more seriously. I've just been primarily focusing on distance and mid-distance.
What's been like the biggest change from like club to college swimming for you?
The main difference between club swimming and swimming at college so far for me is that there are different groups. At Bates, we have a group for sprint, mid-distance, and distance. I'm mainly in distance, but sometimes I do mid-distance practice to get more 200 and 500 work in. However, in club, it's all one practice for everyone. Although everyone is good at a different thing, everyone just does one specific practice. And I think that's just a huge difference. And I like it a lot better, just doing strictly distance.
Who are you working with among the coaching staff mostly?
I'm with mostly PC and Boomer.
Okay.
They're my primary coaches.
What's it like working with them?
It's awesome. I mean, they're the biggest supporters on the team there are. They're awesome coaches. I mean, they always have some good advice to say, and they always push us to our limits in practice.
Excellent. And then, I mean, in terms of your first year on the team, I know the training trip is always something that people really look forward to. How was that experience for you in December?
Training trip was awesome. Every day at the beach, every day outside in the Florida weather, and training outside in a long course pool 2 times a week. Like me personally, I love long course. It's the Olympic-sized pool, 50 meters. And for me as a distance swimmer, I feel like that benefits me slightly. So I had a really great time. I think it was really beneficial, not just for me, but for the team. And it was wonderful. It was warm, nice, and a lot of fun.
Is there any other thoughts you wanted to share on the CBB championship for the men's swimming and diving team we haven't got to talk about yet?
Although I don't have a lot to say as this is my first year, I heard that this is the first time we won the CBB championship in a few years. And I think with this win, this is going to boost morale going into future years of CBB. And we're looking like a real strong team. Like this year, next year, we're going to keep growing and keep getting better. Each year, we're getting better and better. I believe that we'll continue winning and we'll continue improving as a team overall.
Excellent. Anton, thank you so much for joining us on the Bobcast. Really appreciate it. Congrats again on the CBB title with NESCAC coming up in 2 weeks.
Thanks.
In January, the Department of Athletics announced the hiring of Princess L. Zabel as the 8th head coach in the Bates women's lacrosse program's 50-year history. With the Bobcats getting their season started a week from Wednesday at Haverford, Zabel joins the Bobcast this week to tell us more about her background and coaching philosophy. Well, Princess, before we start talking about the Bobcats, the season starting next week, tell me a little bit about growing up from Connecticut, right?
Yes.
you were a basketball player
I was.
until high school. Tell us how you made the transition from basketball to lacrosse, because obviously you played one sport your whole life, and now you make a very dramatic switch, right?
Yeah, so the summer going into my high school seasons, I saw lacrosse on TV, and I was like, it was men's lacrosse then, and I was like, I want to play that sport. So my mom signed me up for some camps and stuff like that, and then when I got to high school, the opportunity presented itself. I was able to play. I immediately took a lot of things from basketball and applied them to lacrosse. I think the sports are very similar in terms of how you run an offense, picks and rolls, running a zone, press is our ride in lacrosse. So I think it's very, very similar, just on a different surface.
Interesting. And what was the transition like, handling a basketball with your hands versus trying to figure out how to, handle a lacrosse ball with a stick?
Yeah, I had some really good teachers. I had a really good coach and a lot of older players that had been playing for a long time. But the hand-eye coordination is similar. A crossover is a split dodge. The footwork is the same, and that made it very easy for me to translate the sport. I think catching was hard in the beginning, but I was able to get it.
And where did you end up playing in college?
I played at Villanova.
Villanova. Okay, so Division I.
Yes.
Women's lacrosse. Tell me about that experience playing at Villanova. What was it like moving into the college ranks? And when did you decide, as you were going through college, hey, I might want to coach?
Being at Villanova was incredible. I loved my experience as an athlete. I love my experience as a student. I love my teammates. I love my coaches that I had in the years I was there. Go Cats. But I had been coaching club while I was in college, coaching the club, in the summer and stuff like that. So when I graduated from college, I actually had an opportunity to go work in D.C. and be a lobbyist for a firm, or first low-level person. But so I had that opportunity, or I could go coach. Someone's like, hey, you'd be a really good coach. Why don't you go try? So I applied to some different places, and I actually started at a small Division II in North Carolina, Mount Olive College, which was 20 miles from my grandparents' house that we still had in our family. So I was able to live rent-free and do that. And I was like, if I want to go into the real world, I can do it later. And I'm still here.
Was the St. Joseph's job your first head coaching job?
No, I actually was a head coach at a Division I Central Connecticut State in New Britain, Connecticut. I was there for 2 years, and then St. Joe's, yeah.
So you had the experience of coaching at the D1 level and the D3 level. What are some similarities, differences you've discovered, at least within lacrosse there, I guess?
Yeah, I think the Division III athlete has more balance, and that's the model, right?
Yeah.
They definitely have more balance and more opportunities to do things outside of their sport. As a coach, you don't get to spend as much time with them. So that's the give and take. At the Division I level, we're with our kids, every day. Even when we have our restrictions, we're still with them.
Yeah.
And so at the Division III level, it's just, at St. Joe's, we got 24 practices. But at a NESCAC, we have our own rules here, so we'll only get, 10 on field, and then I believe it's 5 or 6 classroom sessions. So it's definitely up to the student athlete to make sure that they're putting in their work if they want to play at a high level or compete on the field at a high level.
Certainly. So you were coaching in your home state there at St. Joseph's of Connecticut. What appealed about coming up to Maine and joining the Bobcats here at Bates?
Maine is a beautiful state.
Yeah.
So that was appealing in itself. In terms of Bates, kind of some connections I had in Philly, kind of was like, hey, did you see this job? Are you interested? I really enjoyed my time at USJ in Connecticut, so I wasn't really looking. But the more I did some digging on Bates and the program and where it's positioned and the possibilities, I really started to think maybe this is something I actually am interested in, and I'd love to learn more. So that's kind of how I went through the process of learning, and with all the experience and having been at different programs and knowing what to look for and what are the things that are going to help me be successful as a coach and allow the players to be successful on the field, really looking for those things through the process and making sure that those things were available to me and to the players. So I think that's kind of how I went through the process.
You've had, 1 week with the team?
Yes.
How'd it go?
It was great. They're incredible. They're incredible women. They're not just lacrosse players. I'm in the middle of meeting with every single one of them and like learning who they are. My question is, who is Princess Zabel? And then I have them like explain to me like who they are. And then we kind of obviously get into lacrosse stuff, but they're incredible. And then on the field, they're working hard. They have goals and objectives, and they're proving to themselves and to each other that, the goals are attainable.
You mentioned those questions. What's your answer to that question? Who is Princess Zabel?
I am a coach. I'm a mom. I'm a great friend. I have a high emotional intelligence. I read people pretty well and can see situations. And I love the game of lacrosse. I love athletics. I love being on a college campus. There's just something about it, the students, the atmosphere. I love hiking. I love my family. I love my friends.
I saw in the Bates student Q&A, you mentioned you want to go lobstering in the summer.
Yeah.
Where does that interest come from?
I love seafood.
Okay, yeah.
If I could be a pescatarian, I would do it. But yeah, so I love seafood, lobster, crab. I love those are probably my two favorites of the shellfish. I was like, oh, I want to know where they come from. Like, I want to get out on the boat or in the trap and like see what it takes to catch one. So I would hope to eat it later. So
Right, exactly. And then, with the season starting so soon, what's going to be like the points of emphasis in kind of a crash course for your philosophy? Getting to know your team, obviously, but how are you preparing for, a road trip, next week to Haverford?
Yes, we have a lot of time restrictions with the temperatures,
Right.
and those are challenges in itself. But right now, just this past week, I took the time to get to know them, see what they offer, and see what they can do. And now we're going to start implementing systems. So we started doing that on Friday and Saturday, and we'll continue to do that this week so they can feel confident in the systems. And we'll hit the road and roll it out.
I feel like there's excitement around the team, in particular because of the way last year ended with the win over Colby.
100%.
Yeah, I'm sure the players have mentioned that to you. What are some things you've heard about that? Because obviously Colby was ranked in the top 10 in the country, and Bates beat them.
Yeah, they are taking that momentum and they are rolling with it into this season. That excitement is still there. They see it as a starting point. Like, it can only go up from here. So I think that game is a testament to who this group is. Obviously, we're missing people and we have new people, but I think it's a testament to the culture and that, that was the last game of the season. They could have just, okay. But they went out there and they fought hard for 60 minutes and they came up with a win. So, yeah.
And then in terms of your coaching philosophy, what are some things you like to see from your players? What are some strategy, purposes? Some coaches like to implement their system. Others say, okay, who do I have and what can they do the best? What's kind of your philosophy there?
Who do I have and what can they do the best? And I think that's what makes it so difficult in a time in terms of I'm only going to be with them 2 weeks before we play.
Right.
Whereas it's so funny, I was just talking to another coach about this morning. If I was very systematic and just had a system, we're going to implement it no matter what, we'd probably be a little bit further along. But I really just believe in the personnel and putting them in a position where they can be successful. And that means creating a system that works for them. In terms of philosophy, I'm pretty honest. The players are always going to know where they stand with me. I think they've recognized that already. And I want to see them work hard even when no one's watching. And I want to see them keep playing even when they make a mistake. And that's really important to me.
Terrific. And I know you've hired some assistant coaches recently. Tell us about your assistants who are joining you on the staff this year.
Yeah, I have 2 coaches who are legends in their own right. So we got Abby Burbank, and then we have Dorothy Holt. And so they're here with the program. Abby will be with us all the time, and then Dorothy will join us just for preseason as she coaches high school. So she'll leave us when her season starts.
So Abby's going to be here the whole season.
Yes.
Tell us about her background, sort of.
She's coached internationally. She's coached at the Division I level, at the Division III level. I am very lucky right now because she lives in Maine, and so it was easy. Hey, do you want to come? Can I pull you back into coaching? And can you, you don't have to commit for forever, but can you, help get this off the ground. And she came highly recommended from some other legends. And so, yeah, but she's worked with attackers, she's worked with defenders, she's worked with draw takers, goalies. I mean, with her resume, she could work with anyone on the field. So.
What are your first impressions of Garcelon Field and the new turf we have there?
I know, it's really nice. It's really nice. It's definitely a special feel when you're practicing and there's students walking by and the cars. It's definitely like cozy. You know, it's not isolated. There's buildings all around you.
Definitely, yeah, right in the middle of campus.
Yeah.
Certainly. And so, long road trip to start the year. I mean, what are your thoughts on that kind of, I guess? I mean, not any home games, I think, until a few weeks in, really.
Yeah, I think it's good.
Yeah.
I think it's good for us to get on the road and see what we can do. Traveling and competing is not easy. It has its own challenges. So I think it's important that we're actually getting on a plane and we're going down to Philly. Then we're going to bus to D.C., and then we'll come back, and then we're going to get on the road and do a long haul to Hamilton. So by the time we get to Hamilton, we will have learned how to travel with this group and, like, what the group needs. And it's really exciting. We're playing Haverford and Catholic. Those are two teams that could be ranked at some point in the season. So it's really important for us to get that caliber of a game because that is what the NESCAC is.
Excellent. Yeah, the women's lacrosse team opens at Haverford on February 19th at 4 o'clock. Then, as you mentioned, at Catholic on the 22nd at 1 o'clock. At Hamilton, March 1st. At Husson, March 4th. And then we finally have our home opener on March 8th at 11 a.m. against, at this point, number 23 nationally ranked Williams. We'll see where they're ranked at that point. But, I mean, Princess, any other final thoughts you wanted to share on, the transition to Bates and your excitement for the season?
In the week that I've been here, the community has been extremely welcoming. Tons of texts from coaches, people stopping by, just making sure I know where things are and know the Lewiston community and, like, where to go. And it's just been really exciting. Even student athletes stopping me like, hey, are you the new lacrosse coach? I'm like, yes. And they're like, oh, my name is so-and-so. Really nice to meet you. I'm on the rowing team, or I'm on men's lacrosse, or I play softball. So it has that small feel where you are seen.
She is the 8th head coach in the history of the Bates women's lacrosse program. Princess Zabel, thank you so much for joining us on the Bobcast. Really appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Next time on the Bates Bobcast, we'll preview the men's lacrosse, tennis, and baseball seasons as spring sports are upon us. Plus, by next Tuesday, we'll know where the women's basketball team is seated in the upcoming NESCAC tournament. All that and more next time on the Bates Bobcast.